I'm Kenneth, a relationship coach and a psychotherapist. Every relationship is different and every breakup is different. Work with me and you'll get professional help on your situation. And if you're in no contact, focused on personal growth, my workbook series, The Knowledge, will help you make changes like you've never made before. Available now at AskCraig.net. Hi there, I'm Coach Craig Kenneth, and today's video I'm going to be talking to you about I was fine with the breakup. One of the things that I see sometimes is that we can actually be fine with the breakup initially, but then something happens or time goes on and things change, circumstances change, for whatever reason. There are different things that can happen, and then we're devastated. And I saw this years ago with a friend of mine who had broken up with a girl, and rightfully so. She had done some things that were inappropriate. We both thought that they were deal breakers. Like, in other words, when he talked to me about it, I agreed with him. And so he ended the relationship. But then after some time, he missed her, he thought about it, and he thought maybe we could work through it. And then she rejected him. And it left him devastated. And actually, he was not in a good place for a very long time because of that. And sometimes I see that, where somebody ends the relationship and we're okay with it, or there is a breakup, not even necessarily them, and then something happens and we just feel like, I can't believe this, like I was okay and now I don't understand why I'm so confused, I'm devastated, I think about this person all the time. And I had an email coaching come up with something similar. Now, this is a complicated story, so you're going to see that there's a lot to this one, and it's going to make even more sense to you why I brought this topic up of why am I struggling with this situation when I was totally fine. So this is from a woman in her early 40s, and the guy she was with for 6 years, they've been married for about 5 years, and they also have a child together. So she goes on to say a little bit about there was some times where they were long distance for a bit here and there due to his job and some issues that they had. One of the first things she said is that he used to complain that I made more money than him. A lot of guys are insecure about that. But, you know, it's a good problem to have, right? That somebody's successful. She also goes on to say, the first major problem was that he was cheating at the beginning of the relationship with one of his exes. When he got caught, he begged me to stay, and I did. Then, after a year, he started to become verbally, physically, emotionally, and mentally abusive. Now, we have told you guys for years that we don't want anybody to stay in an abusive relationship. So if you're in a situation where there's any kind of abuse going on, get yourself professional help. Okay? Find yourself a local therapist who understands these kind of things. Look into resources in your area that can keep you safe, because in domestic situations there can be violence. And so please consult with a professional to help you in that situation. Specifically somebody that is trained in those areas, because things can get very violent or toxic, and I don't want to see anybody go through that or get hurt. So please look for local resources in your area if there's any kind of abuse like that going on, okay? So she goes on to say, we wouldn't talk for weeks at a time and he would drink heavily. So we got some serious deal breakers going on here, right? A year ago, I threatened him with divorce, and he begged me not to divorce him. So we started marriage counseling, and he stopped drinking excessively and being abusive. Okay, so he got some help, they got professional help, and the drinking improved, and the abuse went away. So that's great, right? Obviously, that's what we want. But you got to be very careful when there's abuse involved, because people that are abusive tend to have been in abused homes where they were abused, and so it's hard to work through that trauma. You can do it, but it takes work. She says the marriage counseling did not work because he continued to be irrational, controlling, and started to be verbally abusive. Okay, so the abuse came back, right? Not good, especially when there's a small child involved. During this time, we also went through 3 rounds of IVF, in which I lost all the embryos each time. So that's stressful, right? You know, if you're trying to have a baby, now obviously this is not the healthiest situation to be doing something like that. I know things had improved, but then he went back to becoming abusive, and at that point, you really got to put your safety first, your child's safety first. I filed for divorce 3 times before it was final. I moved out of the house in the summer of this year. He made me the promise that he will continue to work on our relationship because we both still loved each other. Okay, a lot of abusive men will promise to get help, but then they don't do it. So ladies, please, and men too, of course, please do not allow somebody to promise you that they'll get help, but then not follow through. You make sure that they get the help first, and that you know for a fact that he has gotten, or they have gotten help from somebody, like a clinician, a professional who is trained to work in those areas. Don't just go by promises. He would show up to the house unannounced. I do not like that at all. It feels like a threat. Okay? Coming by whenever he wants, that scares her that she can't feel like she can live her life or do what she wants to do. Just dropping by like that. It's a big red flag. If somebody's showing up at your house unannounced, especially in a situation like this where the person is toxic or abusive, it's a big red flag. Do not allow that. He would wait around the corner from my house without calling. This is not good. I do not like what he's doing here. He would call me every hour sometimes, several times a day, trying to keep tabs on her constantly. He's obsessing at this point. We would argue about his behavior because he didn't see anything wrong with it. So that's how bad it is. He doesn't even say, "You're right, I gotta stop this, I'm out of control, I'm so sorry." He's in denial that all these things are completely unacceptable. And they are completely unacceptable, all of these. And so if you're sitting there listening thinking, uh-oh, I'm doing this, you better stop. This is not okay. This is stalking, and you can get in a lot of legal trouble, and you're certainly not going to get your ex back or reattract them with any of this behavior. We still tried. I'm sure a big part of that was they have a child together. We still went out to eat together and went to church, but we always ended up with arguments over the dumbest things. By the end of summer, he got COVID and stayed away from us for a week. Then, in the beginning of August, he went away for a week. All of a sudden, we heard nothing from him until the end of August, when my daughter called him on FaceTime. All right, so he's pushing. This is what I want. Pushing, showing up, stalking, and then disappears. We all know what happened here, right? He was having dinner with another woman. Unbelievable, right? This guy is so selfish and self-absorbed that all he cares about is how he feels. I want you back, thinking this mentality of like you belong to me that a lot of toxic people have. But then he feels attraction to somebody else, doesn't care about how he's had an impact on his ex-wife and daughter, disappears on him. This guy is not okay. He is now in love with her and leaves us alone completely. Unbelievable, isn't it? He wants her, he wants her, he wants her. She begrudgingly gives him a chance. She was fine with the breakup. She was okay with the divorce. She wanted the divorce. He keeps pushing, pushing, pushing. Now look at how he's acting. They have a small child together. He doesn't even seem to care about his own kid. Unbelievable. He is now in love with her and leaves us alone completely. I went from being completely fine after the divorce to crying every day after I found out he is now with somebody. I don't really have a question but a concern of the pain I have. This unbearable pain, like someone has ripped my heart out of my chest. I don't know how to get over it. Yes, I know this man was toxic and a horrible husband and father, but I am tired of everyone telling me to move on and just get closure when I don't know how to do that. Losing him is still very painful. Well, of course. You know, it's not necessarily losing him, although that's part of it, of course. It's you've lost the idea of who this man was. The father of your child, the family that you thought you were going to have. It's also about losing your identity, these expectations that you had. And not only that, by you continually sacrificing your own needs to try and repair this and give it another shot. And I'm sure the child had a lot to do with it. And, you know, I understand. You know, I'm not trying to beat you up about that. But it's tough because for her, she was totally fine with this breakup. Like my friend, he was totally fine with the breakup. And then this person comes back for whatever reason, and now you're just devastated. Well, in this situation, you got to really think about how unhealthy this relationship is, how unhealthy his behaviors are. Think about your daughter. Think about the kind of men you want your daughter to be attracted to. You don't want him to be spending time around you guys in this kind of toxic environment. I hope he gets help for himself. I hope he does, because he does have a child, and you know, she needs her dad, ideally. I mean, it's sad when you don't have a parent around, and that's going to affect her. But obviously, if you have to cut him out of your life because he's abusive, then that's what you have to do. But I think you focus on all of the toxic, abusive traits here that he had, and I think you have every right to be angry. Angry for all of the toxic behaviors he did in the relationship, in the marriage, afterwards, in manipulating to get you back, and then discarding you so quickly for somebody he's in love with. It's not going to last with this woman. I don't think it's going to last. He doesn't really know this woman very well. She may see his behavior and get turned off by it right away. Just because he's in love with her doesn't mean that it's going to lead to anything. I mean, he's saying he loves her, but it's only been like a month or something like that. I mean, what is that? And it sounds like she probably lives out of state. So I don't see this going anywhere, but I don't think that's your focus here. You got to focus on what you're looking for in your life, the qualities you're looking for in a partner, and keeping yourself and your child safe. He's done a lot of scary, dangerous behavior here. And I would get yourself some more treatment. I don't know if you had therapy, but you definitely should get yourself therapy for this. And maybe even your daughter, although she's probably a little too young right now. But probably would in the next couple of years when she gets a little bit older. Because she's going to have to deal with not having a dad around, or a dad that's got some scary behavior here. And that would concern me about how he would treat her if it was one-on-one, right? I mean, I don't know that he abused the daughter, but obviously we see his behavior here is pretty scary. Don't worry about what other people think. You got to figure this out for yourself. It is painful and it is hard, and it's not just about him. It's about all the things that you hope that you would have with him and the family that you thought you were going to have with this guy. But I think anger is your friend here, and focus on all the things that he did were toxic and upsetting, and concentrate on that, just like you did initially, because that helped you divorce him initially, okay? Tough situation, and I hate to see anybody go through this, right? I don't want anybody to be in a toxic relationship. I want you to have healthy relationships with people that bring a lot of value and joy into your life, okay? Hopefully you found this one helpful. Of course, if you want to get my help personally, you could do that on my website, askcraig.net. I do email coaching and I do Skype. But that's it for this video. I'm Coach Craig Kenneth. and I will talk with you soon.